Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
The Chronicles of Straw Hat Luffy by KuramaSageNaruto. At a young age, Luffy accidentally activated his king's haki against the mountain bandits. Seeing the danger that Luffy could pose to the village, he takes the boy to a small island in the East Blue for a year. He teaches Luffy how to use his haki and drops him back at Fushia a year later. OP Luffy. Different Devil Fruit Luffy. I don't own anything. Adios.
She can't bear to abandon anyone, Luffy said aloud. She can't bear to see anyone hurt and wants this rebellion to end without any deaths. Without anyone dying, Crocodile laughed as he looked at the boy in the straw hat. There are many weak and mushy fools like that. They don't know true battle, and I can see you agree with that. I do, Luffy stated as he glared at Crocodile, but as long as you live she will fight until her death, and that's why I will take you down now. Kuhahaha, absolutely ridiculous, you're beyond saving, Crocodile told him with a smirk. This should be a good example, that those who conspire with others will die because of it. I guess that makes you pretty stupid then, Luffy replied as he cracked his knuckles. Ahahaha, Miss All Sunday laughed as Crocodile rounded on her. What's so funny? Crocodile asked in frustration and anger. Do you want to die as well, Nico Robin? If that's how you feel about it, do as you wish, the newly revealed Nico Robin stated as she began to walk away from the pair. And what happened to your promise to not call me that name? Where are you going? Crocodile questioned. Ahead to Alubarna, Robin replied with a smirk. Crazy woman, Crocodile muttered in annoyance. I'll humor you for 3 minutes. That's fine by me, Luffy shot back as he glared at the Shichibukai. Luffy dropped into a wide stance as he coated his arms in Busashoku haki and used Soru to appear in front of the now shocked Crocodile. The straw hat wearing boy threw a punch into Crocodile's gut and sent him flying back as he spat up a glob of spit. Luffy smiled as the Shichibukai as the man slowly stood back up and glared at him. Spit was still hanging off the side of the man's mouth. Haki, Crocodile spat in disgust. How can a rookie like you use haki? I made sure to be ready, Luffy replied. You've gotten complacent in this part of the sea. You fucking brat, Crocodile roared as he raised his right hand, Desato Supata. Shit, Luffy yelled as Crocodile slammed his hand into the ground. The Shichibukai hand had turned into fast-moving sand as he slammed it into the ground. The straw-hatted captain had to leap out of the way as his sand shot out like a torpedo in his direction as it split the sand apart. As the sand passed Luffy, he shot at Crocodile with his right arm coated in haki. As he threw his hand forwards, Crocodile's stomach opened up and Luffy's fist went straight through the hole. He had to pull his head back quickly as the sand closed back around them and Crocodile brought the hook up towards the rookie's face. Luffy leaned backwards as the cook went past his head and lashed out with a kick to the abdomen that sent Crocodile skirting backwards with a frown on his face. The veteran lifted his hand up as sand circled it and once again slammed it into the ground and the sand launched at Luffy. Desato Jurasaur, Crocodile yelled in frustration. The ground around the sand collapsed as it ran through the little green life that was in front of Luffy. As the sand ran through anything that was in its road drained the moisture out of it, it closed in on Luffy as he jumped to the side and watched as Crocodile's sand killed everything that it came into contact with. The straw-hatted pirate had to duck as Crocodile appeared behind him and tried to cut him across the neck. As Luffy jumped backwards, his foot slipped on the sand beneath him and Crocodile grabbed his right arm with a sinister smirk on his face. This is over, you snot-nosed brat, Crocodile mocked as he began to suck the moisture out of Luffy's arm. Shit, Luffy muttered in pain as he coated his left fist in haki and punched the Shichibukai in the face, making the man let him go. Luffy grabbed the small water bucket that he had received from Toto and took a gulp out of it, which shockingly returned his arm to normal. As he forced his way to his feet, the sand started to shift underneath him and encased his feet, keeping him stuck to the ground as Crocodile laughed. Not as ready as you thought, rookie, Crocodile laughed while mocking the boy. This is the end. No, Luffy screamed as the sand started to suck him in. Now, I'm going to take my country, Crocodile stated as he walked away from the boy. This isn't over, Luffy screamed as the sand reached his waist. Luffy started to coat his body in haki and was struggling to push out of the sand that was sucking him down. He started to use Geppo to slowly force himself out of the sand. He was slowly but surely getting out of the sand when he felt arms grab him. He looked up and nearly sighed as he noticed Miss All Sunday standing on the edge of the sand with her arms crossed and a smile on her face. I thought you left, Luffy simply stated. Why do you fight? Miss All Sunday asked in curiosity. All of you who carry the name of D. Just what in the world are you? Miss All Sunday thought as she looked down at the rookie who stood up to Crocodile. Well, that seems to be a pointless question, the woman stated as she to the sky. I found you, a voice called out. What has happened to the princess? Oh, you're awake, Miss All Sunday remarked as she looked at Pell. Now that I understand your powers, I will take you down, Pell yelled as he placed his hand on his blade. Oh, stop it, don't get yourself any more injured than you already are, Miss All Sunday stated as she began to walk away. Actually, this is perfect timing. Why don't you save that boy? He's the brave man who escorted your precious princess here. With the rest of the crew. What do you mean this crab can't cross water? Usopp shouted in shock and terror. Moving crabs are creatures of the sand. Vivi informed them, they can't cross the water. But it's a crab, Usopp argued. It'll take all day to float across this huge river, and even if we cross the river there is still kilometers of desert to go. Vivi shouted, if Scissors can't make it across to the other side, then we'll have to run. There's no way we can make it in time, Usopp yelled. Oh no, you can see the Sandora River up ahead, Vivi shouted in worry. Do something Scissors, Usopp screamed. Wait, Scissors loves dancers, Chopper told the group. Like this? Nami asked as she took off her cloak. He's looking, Chopper informed them as the crab sped up. So, how is this supposed to help Chopper? Usopp yelled. Wait a minute, this is amazing, Sanji stated as the crab began to run over the water. It's a miracle, Usopp shouted in glee, he actually running on water. No, that was just your imagination, Nami yelled as the crab began to sink. Let's go, Zoro muttered in frustration as Chopper climbed onto his head, quit your complaining and keep moving. But we don't have a boat, how far is the other side? Usopp yelled once again. About 50 kilometers, Vivi told them as Usopp dropped further into the water. We can't swim that, he shouted as a giant fish rose out of the water from behind them. A Sandora rare catfish, Vivi told them, named that because they are extremely rare. Who cares about that? Zoro yelled, just swim. It also loves to eat humans, Vivi shouted as they tried to swim away. You should have started with that, Nami yelled back in frustration. As the Straw Hats began to swim away they heard multiple more splashes of water that represented more of the sea life emerging. They slowly turned their heads around as Zoro tried to detach Chopper from his head and noticed that the giant fish was knocked out and floating on its side with multiple familiar figures standing on it. The Kung Fu Dugongs, Nami shouted in glee as they began to get on the giant fish. They say that they couldn't let their fellow students die, Chopper told them as the Dugongs began to pull the fish. It's not like we're Luffy's students, Zoro muttered in distaste. At least we're alive, Usopp exclaimed, 1 hour later. The Straw Hats and Eyelashes jumped onto the shore that the Dugongs had pulled them to. They now had to cover the final 50 kilometers to reach Alubarna. We're doing good right now, think we? Zoro asked Vivi. I don't know, Vivi admitted, even with Eyelashes here, it will be tough. But Eyelashes can only carry 2 people, Usopp replied, and from here on we'll be attacked by Baroque works, isn't there a way we can travel as a group? Over there, Nami yelled as dust obstructed their view. What is it, more enemies? Usopp screamed in terror. No, it's Karoo, Vivi yelled in happiness, and the Super Spot built Duck Squad. With the Baroque Works agents, the problem is, where do we wait? Miss Doublefinger stated, our enemy is a pirate crew that has defeated 6 of our number agents. That's right, Mr. 2 stated as spun around, and the princess was a BW member as well. Quit spinning Okama, Miss Merry Christmas yelled in frustration. But Mr. 2 yelled, when it comes to deception, I cannot be beaten. Well, it would be nice if we could just get it over with, Miss Doublefinger stated, what do you think? HMPH, Mr. 1 grunted as Miss Doublefinger sighed. Then all we had to do, Miss Doublefinger told them, is get rid of Vivi. 2 hours later, Ducks, Miss Merry Christmas screamed out. Ducks, Miss Doublefinger questioned, what do you mean, Miss Merry Christmas? There are too many of them, there's 6 of them, Miss Merry Christmas yelled in reply. Without Straw Hat the list only said 4 people, right? You're wrong Miss Merry Christmas, didn't you listen to the boss? Miss Doublefinger stated, there's the Mr. Prince guy and there could be more, so the numbers could be right. No matter how many of them there are, our target is still the same, Mr. 1 growled, stop your chittering. Look over there, I can see the rebels, there are so many, Mr. 2 yelled as he twirled around, that princess is one loony loon, if she thinks she can stop them all, and that loony loon is coming in this direction. Mr. 1, Miss Merry Christmas stated, you said all we have to do is get rid of the princess, alright then, why don't you tell me which one is Vivi? The Baroque Works agents ran across to the edge where Miss Merry Christmas was standing and grunted in displeasure. All the advancing ducks had riders on their backs, but there was a large problem with them. All the riders were unidentifiable, they all wore the exact same cloaks that coated their bodies from view. Mr. Fore was the first to act, he raised his bazooka to his shoulder and fired a baseball out of it. The baseball landed in front of the advancing group, that quickly ran around the ball as it exploded. The group began to split up as the Baroque Works agents took note of them. 2 were going south as the agents jumped to the ground. One of the pirates shot a projectile at Mr. 1 and 2 more split off to the west. The last charged over Mr. 2 and headed for the southwest. Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger headed to the west, Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. 4 headed for the south, and Mr. 2 followed the last group. Mr. 2 was the first one to arrive at his target and stop the pair ducks from advancing any further. "Oh, not too bad, thanks for following us in," a voice came from the cloak. "What?" Mr. 2 muttered in shock, with Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger. "You people are good at guessing," the first person under the cloak told them. "Yes, I'm Princess Vivi." "What are you talking about?" the second person said. "I'm Princess Vivi." Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas. "I think this is far enough," the first person in the cloak stated as the two ducks came to a halt. "Time to show you who we are. With Vivi, we must hurry. The rebels will be here soon," Vivi stated as she walked out of behind a rock with Kuru. "Let's go, Kuru." Mr. 2, a camel and a long nose, Mr. 2 yelled in shock as he stared at the odd pairing. "I'm sorry," Usopp yelled as he held onto his duck. Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger. "Okay, Zoro, beat them up," Nami yelled while cowering behind him and the pair of ducks. "Shut up back there," Zoro barked as he stood in front of Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger. "Damn," Mr. 1 muttered in disappointment. Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas. "Hee, no more rebellion," Sanji mocked as he stood with Chopper. "What?" Miss Merry Christmas exclaimed in shock, with Vivi. Vivi and Kuru stood in front of the advancing rebellion, ready to take them on. She threw her arms out as the rebels got closer to her. "Stop, rebels," Vivi shouted in hopes that they would hear her. "This fight has been set up." As the princess finished her plea, a cannon fired and landed between her and the advancing army. The cannon exploded and threw up the sand to obscure her view of the army, as well as theirs of her. "Hey, did you see a silhouette up ahead?" Koza asked as the army continued forwards. "Who cares, they've already started to fire," the man next to him replied. "They can't see," Vivi stated in horror. "Do not falter, charge right through," Koza yelled at his army. "It's only sand." "Stop, everybody stop," Vivi pleaded as her voice was drowned out by the hooves. "Defeat the king for the sake of the country," Koza yelled. "Leader," Vivi shrieked. "What is it, Koza?" a rebel asked his leader as the man looked around. "No, it's nothing," the man replied as he shot through the sand and unknowingly ran past Vivi. "This is our final battle." "Leader," Vivi shouted at Koza as she looked at him. "Quack," was all she heard as she felt something tackle her, and the army followed through and over the top of where the pair were standing. The war had started as the rebels and the royal army began their fight for the kingdom. As the sand settled back down, a small hand could be seen emerging from under Kuru. As the princess pushed her way out from under her faithful duck as she looked at him in shock and horror. "Kuru, you protected me," Vivi cried. "I'm sorry I let this happen. The rebellion has begun, but we can stop it, no matter how many times they push us back." "Quack," Kuru pushed out. "That's what I learned on the ship," Vivi cried as her face was covered in tears, the foolishness of giving up. "Vivi," a familiar voice called out. "Get on, Usopp," Vivi said in surprise as she looked at the man riding a horse. "That bird is done for. If we don't hurry, the battle's just going to get worse." "That bird," Vivi thought in shock. "What's wrong? Get on," Usopp yelled at her. "Usopp," Vivi muttered out. "Prove yourself. Are you doubting me?" Usopp asked as he lifted his right arm to show the bandage. "Look." "No," Vivi muttered in surprise. "Quake," Kuru yelled as the duck picked Vivi up and began to run away. Zero-chan said they all had the same bandage on their arm. "I wonder how they found out," Mr. 2 questioned. "But you won't get away from me, Okama Dash." "Kuru, don't push yourself," Vivi told her duck. "You can't run in this state." "I said you won't get away from me," Mr. 2 yelled as he chased the pair. "No, if you run that way we'll get stuck on the staircase," Vivi yelled. "Just put me down and I'll fight." "Quack," Kuru replied. "Wait a minute, that's the wall," Vivi shouted in shock. "No way," Mr. 2 shouted. "How can a duck run up cliffs like that?" "Oh no," Vivi yelled as Kuru fell back from the cliff. "Gahahaha, you sillies," Mr. 2 shouted in glee. "Now come down and fall prey to my Okama Kenpo." Mr. 2 watched as the duck started to flap its wings and sweat dropped as the duck pushed forwards and attached itself to the cliff. He frowned as it climbed back up as the man started to climb the cliff after the pair. He reached the top of the cliff and pushed himself up as he heard a gunfire. He watched the bullet through the air and hit the duck, causing it to fall to the floor. The man rushed forwards as Vivi cried with her duck before he was hit in the back by two more ducks and sent flying away. "We can still stop them, right, Vivi-chan?" Sanji asked as he walked forwards while smoking. "Good job, Commander Kuru, you're a real man." "Sanji-san," Vivi stated in shock. "Okay guys, you can go now," Sanji told them all. "I'll take on that Okama for you." "I'm fine, take Kuru," Vivi ordered the two ducks as they picked up their injured comrade. "Why?" Mr. 2 yelled in frustration. "Who are you?" "Go," Vivi yelled as she began to run with the pair. "Now she got away," Mr. 2 yelled as he began to spin around. "No more joking around, just die." You took my sharpshooter's precious googles. Sanji yelled back as he kicked forwards and blocked Mr. 2. Why don't you give them back, because I won't go down like he did. You're one of Straw Hat's friends, Mr. 2 stated. You must be the famous Mr. Prince. No, my name is Sanji, Sanji told the man, first-rate cook of the sea. A cook? I'm a first-rate Okama. The man yelled back at him. Why would a cook fight a criminal organization? Hey, I'm in the criminal business as well, Sanji replied. I'm a pirate cook. An eye for an eye, Mr. 2 stated. Exactly, leave this country alone, Sanji told him with a glare. With Usopp. Hey, Chopper. Usopp yelled as he rushed to the reindeer's side. Hey, get up Chopper. Where's the enemy, the Mr. 4 pair? I'm here to help you. Usopp, Chopper said in a pain-filled voice, I'm glad you're okay. Don't be stupid. The sniper yelled at the reindeer in worry, what about you? They're still around here, Chopper warned as he ignored Usopp's questions, be careful. Usopp jumped to his feet in fear as he looked around for the two Baroque Works members that could deal so much damage to the doctor in his strong point. As he looked around he noticed a pillar in the nearby ruins collapse as Chopper started to force himself to his feet. What the heck? Usopp yelled in shock as he looked for the reason that the pillar collapsed. Where are they? They're underground, Chopper informed him. Miss Merry Christmas has the Mogu Mogu no Mi powers. She's a mole woman and Mr. 4 is a number 4 batter, along with his dog. Huh, start making sense, Usopp asked in confusion. What are you even talking about? Look out, Chopper yelled as he and Usopp jumped to the ground. Usopp hit the ground and barely contained shock and a large amount of fear as a baseball flew over him and Chopper. He watched the baseball shot off as a man rose from the ground with a large baseball bat and took a powerful swing that collided with the ball and sent it rushing back towards the pair of Straw Hats. The ball landed in front of the pair as Chopper grabbed Usopp and jumped backwards. As soon as the baseball touched the sand it exploded and obstructed the large mont's view of the two pirates. Are you okay Usopp? Chopper asked in worry for his friend. Yeah, thanks for saving me, Usopp thanked the doctor, but what the hell was that? I told you, Mr. 4 is a number 4 batter, Chopper breathed out in pain, with his dog. And I told you that I have no idea what that means, Usopp yelled at the reindeer as the smoke in front of them cleared. Ah, there it is, Chopper pointed out as the smoke completely disappeared. Huh, a dog? Usopp questioned as he looked at the strange dog. What the hell kind of dog is that? Dog looks like a sandy brown gun, similar to a bazooka, that has handles on the sides and a contoured barrel. It seems to be suffering from some kind of cold that makes him have a runny nose. Achoo! The dog sneezed as it shot a baseball from its mouth, shocking the sniper. What the hell? Usopp yelled in confusion once again. Here it comes, Chopper yelled out as he jumped to the side. Not again, Usopp complained as he jumped away from Chopper. Mr. 4 suddenly popped up out of a hole in the ground once more with his bat reared back and ready to swing. As the baseball closed in on the large man he swung the bat and hit the ball as hard as he could. The ball bounced off the bat and rushed at Usopp as Chopper screamed in terror. The baseball collided with the sniper and exploded on impact, sending the man flying backwards. Usopp, they're time bombs, they don't have to hit you to explode, Chopper told the boy as he held him in his arms. He can even calculate the fuse timer as he hits it. On the plus side, the ball won't explode until the timer runs out, so I thought I could throw it back before the timer runs out, but they're as heavy as cannonballs and I couldn't stop it. If he can hit them at that speed he must be inhumanly strong. Foo-ha-ha-ha. Mr. 4 laughed as he slowly walked through the ruins and placed his bat against the wall that collapsed from the weight, shocking the pair of pirates. How many tons does that bat weigh? Usopp yelled in shock. He's got to be a monster. Hey, Mr. 4, you slowpoke, why are you slacking off? Miss Merry Christmas shout quickly. Go kill them now, kill them. Ah, there it is, the mole woman, Usopp yelled in surprise as he looked at the female Baroque Works agent. I haven't transformed yet, Miss Merry Christmas yelled out in anger. Chopper, I leave the rest to you, Usopp whispered in pain as he fell into his doctor's arms. Please float my corpse out to sea. I thought you came to help, Chopper yelled at the sniper as he shook the man. Listen, what the hell is that dog thing? Usopp shouted in fear. How can I fight a life form as bizarre as that? I'm human, you understand? I'm human too, Chopper replied loudly. You're a mutant, Usopp screamed back. But Chopper replied as he looked at Usopp, your nose is too long. His name is Lasso, he ate the Inu Inu no Mi model. Dachshund, Miss Merry Christmas stated as she cut off the two arguing pirates. He's a gun. A gun? The two Straw Hats said in disbelief. It's the newest technology on the Grand Line, Miss Merry Christmas informed them. Even things can eat devil fruits. Bullshit, how can it move if it's a gun? Usopp shouted out. Devil fruits don't have a mind of their own. Ah, shut up, you're going to die anyway, so why should you care? Miss Merry Christmas yelled out. He moves and that's that, yeah duh. That's not right, Chopper yelled. Now listen you boys aren't getting out of her alive. Miss Merry Christmas mocked. "You've entered our territory. Now have fun because our territory is called Mole Hill 4th Street. She's turning into a penguin," Usopp yelled as the woman shape shifted and started to take the form of a mole. "She looks like a penguin," Usopp deadpanned. "I'm a mole," the female agent yelled in annoyance as she disappeared. "She's underground," Chopper stated as he started to look around. "Okay, time to make my escape," Usopp yelled as he turned around and began to run away. "Hey, wait," Chopper yelled at the fleeing sniper as the dog popped up from the ground. "Watch out." Usopp turned around as Lasso shot a baseball out of its mouth. The sniper froze in shock as the ball closed in on him. As it got close, Usopp noticed the baseball begin to curve around him and let out a gasp of relief before he turned around and noticed Mr. Fore ready to swing his bat. He watched in fear as Mr. Fore hit the bottom of the baseball and it shot up into the air. Usopp began to laugh as he watched the baseball descend. He quickly jumped aside and began to jog away from the baseball as it hit the ground. Chopper's yell was what made Usopp realize something was wrong. As he looked back, he noticed the baseball following him due to the spin on the baseball. "Mr. Fore isn't your normal cleanup hitter," Miss Merry Christmas mocked as Chopper turned into his walk point and saved the long-nosed sniper. "Ah, Zone family, I knew that he wasn't a normal human." "Yow, here they come again," Usopp yelled as Lasso popped out of the ground. "Usopp, if they hit you and make you stop, you're pretty much dead meat," Chopper warned as he watched Lasso shot out another baseball. "I get it, because if you stay still they can fire a bunch more at you," Usopp cursed as he dodged a baseball. "If I can only get you out of the way," Chopper roared at Mr. Fore as he changed back into his heavy point and charged the man before he was forced to stop. "Huh. Wait, without a batter," Miss Merry Christmas stated from beneath Chopper as she held him in place. "It's not much of a game." Usopp screamed in worry and terror as Mr. Fore started to laugh at the frightened PAA as hard as he could. He made contact with the baseball and it shot straight towards Chopper, who was frozen in place. As the baseball closed in on him, a look of realization crossed Chopper's face and he shifted into his brain point. The shift caused the baseball to shot straight over the doctor's head and exploded behind him. "Phew, I forgot I could do that," Chopper sighed out as he escaped Miss Merry Christmas' grasp. The Straw Hat Doctor charged at Mr. Fore as he shifted back into his heavy point and threw out a right-handed punch that missed the large man. Mr. Fore had dropped back into the sand and disappeared from Chopper's sight. "Damn it, with them moving around like this it will be no use eating a rumble ball," Chopper thought in frustration. "Huh, where'd he go?" Chopper heard Miss Merry Christmas yelled as she popped out of the ground. "Did that long nose escape?" "I gotta warn you," Usopp yelled as he jumped out of the desert with a large hammer. "You guys aren't the only ones who can use the underground tunnels." Chopper watched in glee as Usopp seemed to carry a 10-ton hammer as the sniper jumped through the air and descended towards Mr. Fore. He brought the heavy hammer down onto Mr. Fore and smashed it into his head as Miss Merry Christmas screamed out in surprise at the weight that the long-nosed sniper was wielding with ease. "I've lost count of how many ships I've sunk with this hammer," Usopp stated in confidence as he walked away from a slumped over Mr. Fore. "It's for that reason people call me the Lord of Destruction." "Who the hell are you?" Miss Merry Christmas screamed in a frightened tone. "Holy crap," Chopper whispered in awe. "My name is Captain Usopp," the sniper yelled to the heavens as he placed the hammer over his shoulder. "Wow, Usopp, wow," Chopper yelled at his friend. "I'll be signing autographs later," Usopp told the Doctor of the Straw Hats. "Mr. 4 inches," Miss Merry Christmas breathed out in shock. "He's really not moving. I'm guessing it worked," Usopp thought in wonder. "Well anyways, now's my chance." "Now it's your turn, Mole," Usopp shouted as he ran at the woman, prepared to receive 5 tons of steel. Usopp jumped into the air and slammed his hammer down towards the screaming woman who dropped back into her underground tunnel system. As she kept popping her head back up, Usopp kept slamming his hammer down. He tracked her so that he would be ready to hit her from any hole that she popped out of. The problem was that it didn't take him long to run out of breath as he placed the hammer down and started to catch his breath. "Duh, yeah duh, if you can't hit me, what's the use of carrying that thing around?" Miss Merry Christmas mocked. "Let me tell you something. I'm sure you've heard about the many Baroque Works members falling to us," Usopp asked as he glared at Miss Merry Christmas. "That was all me." "What?" Miss Merry Christmas yelled in shock. "And on top of that, I also have 8,000 followers," Usopp lied as he pointed at himself. "Really?" Chopper asked in surprise as Usopp looked at him. 5 tons, Usopp stated as he lifted the hammer above his head. "Wow, awesome," Chopper shouted. 5 tons, Usopp stated as he lifted the hammer above his head. "Wow, awesome," Chopper shouted. "Hey," Miss Merry Christmas cut in as they all looked at Mr. Fore. "Ooh you, Mr. Fore slowly mumbled. "No, not now," Usopp shouted in worry. "Yeah," after taking a hit from a 5-ton hammer, Chopper yelled out in shock. "He's a monster." "Mr. Fore doesn't even have a lump on his head," Miss Merry Christmas mumbled in confusion. "Wait a minute. He's unharmed after a 5-ton hammer hit his head. Yikes, Usopp whispered in worry. Usopp froze in his place as Lasso shot a baseball out of its mouth and at the large hammer that Usopp was currently holding. The baseball exploded on impact, and as the smoke cleared it revealed the true weapon that Usopp was wielding, much to the shock of everyone there. It melted, Chopper yelled in surprise as he looked at the plastic melted onto wood. Of course, it did. It's fake, Usopp yelled at the reindeer. I gave up after 5 kilos, I'm not lifting 5 tons. You tricked me, Miss Merry Christmas snarled. No more Miss Nice Guy, Mogura Tompo. Mogugyo. As Miss Merry Christmas dug into the desert, Usopp and Chopper started to look at all the holes that she could jump out of to attack. As the pair looked for the woman, Chopper noticed the displacing of sand behind Usopp and screamed at the sniper as Miss Merry Christmas jumped out of the desert. Chopper was forced to watch in horror as the woman brought her hand back and slammed the claws into Usopp, sending him flying away. Mr. Fore, Lasso, take care of the reindeer boy, Miss Merry Christmas ordered. Fwa, watch this, Mr. Fore yelled slowly, Yanhaiapan Punknock. Chopper stood still as Lasso began to shot out multiple baseballs at the Doctor of the Straw Hats. As the baseballs began to close in on the reindeer, Chopper pulled out one of his rumble balls and ate it. He quickly shifted to his brain point and began to run around underneath the baseball as Mr. Fore continued to pop out of the ground and hit the baseball back at him. He used his scope just before an explosion went off and seeming killed the reindeer. Chopper, Usopp yelled in horror as he watched the explosion engulf his friend. This isn't the time for you to be worrying about others, Miss Merry Christmas mocked as she appeared from underneath him, Mogura Banana. Usopp began to run away as the woman followed him from underground and would randomly attempt to cut him with one of her claws. As he was running away from the woman, he started to form a plan. He was currently running through a bunch of ruins, and if he made her collide with them underground it should knock her out. With that in mind, he ran straight at one of the collapsed wall that he could jump over and leapt over it. Split your head open, Usopp yelled in suspected victory. Usopp smiled as his feet touched the ground. That was until Miss Merry Christmas crashed right through the wall and broke it apart. He began to panic as the ruins collapsed. He dodged the small amounts that were falling towards him and smiled once they all crashed to the ground. Ahahaha, that stupid old penguin got crushed, Usopp laughed mockingly. I'm a mole, Miss Merry Christmas stated in frustration as she wrapped one of her claws around Usopp's feet, Mogurazuka Highway. Ah, shit, Usopp yelled in terror as he started to be dragged through the ruins. Stop, let go, stop, wall ahead, stop. Mogu Mogu impact, Miss Merry Christmas yelled as she slammed Usopp through the wall. I see their weakness, Chopper muttered as he kept the 3 in his sight. Usopp, get away from the mole. Chopper charged at Lasso as the dog looked at him. He quickly started to throw sand into the dog's face as he watched Usopp escape the mole woman's grasp. Chopper started to run after Usopp and away from the 3 Baroque Works agents. As he ran away from them, Lasso began to sneeze and shot baseballs into the tunnel system that Miss Merry Christmas built. Explosions started happening once the Straw Hats were out of the danger zone. The 3 agents were engulfed in the flames as Chopper began to smile. The molehill's weakness is that the tunnels are connected, Chopper stated as Usopp collapsed from the damage he received. That's great, Usopp muttered in pain. The pair watched as the smoke began to clear from the explosion. Once it cleared, the 2 Straw Hats were left in a state of shock. The smoke had cleared and revealed that the agents were still in fighting shape. As Chopper cursed, Usopp shot to his feet and began to flee. That was until he once again felt a claw wrap around his feet. Usopp, Chopper shouted in fear. You can't run away now, not after what you have done, Miss Merry Christmas growled. Ah, Usopp screamed in terror. I guess that the captain is this weak. It's no wonder he has such a weak crew. Miss Merry Christmas mocked. Captain, Usopp whispered out in shock, what about Luffy? Ian killed by Mr. Zero's hand. Miss Merry Christmas informed them all mockingly, and the rebellion has begun. You really picked the wrong people to mess with. Luffy's dead, Chopper whispered in sadness and shock as he noticed the dark look covering Usopp's face. Don't give me that crap, you ugly mole bitch. I know him. He won't die, Usopp yelled at the woman. He wouldn't lose to that filthy sand gator. You usually don't say stuff like that without proof, but he is the man who will be the king of the pirates, and you won't die in a place like this. Bawahahaha, Pirate King. Bawahahaha, Pirate King. Don't make me laugh. Miss Merry Christmas mocked. You don't ever say something as stupid as that on the Grand Line. All you people who don't realize the limits of your power would be better off dead. Ahahaha. Chopper, take out the idiot, Usopp ordered as he looked at the woman beneath him as he reached into his pouch. I'm going to show here what the crew of the future Pirate King can do. Chopper nodded his head as he watched Usopp pull a flintlock out of his pouch. His eyes widened as he noticed Usopp's eyes harden. He couldn't believe the lengths the sniper would go to as soon as the woman mocked Luffy's dream. As he turned his back on Usopp, he heard a single gunshot and a gasp of pain. Chopper dashed at the man as he shifted into his horn point. He arrived in front of the man and shocked him by lifting him up with his horns and throwing him into the air. I'll finish this. Chopper heard Usopp yell as once again a gun was fired. Chopper watched with steeled eyes as the bullet penetrated the large mon's shoulder and he let out a scream of pain. Mr. Fore fell to the ground head first as Chopper decided to charge at him. He was ready to deal the finishing blow as he shifted into his heavy point. Heavy gong, Chopper screamed as he slammed his fist into the man's abdomen and sent him flying into the ground knocked out. We did it, Usopp breathed out as he fell to the ground next to Chopper. Chopper began to panic next to his comrade as he screamed for a doctor. As he was looking around he noticed the out-cold Miss Merry Christmas. She had a bullet wound in her shoulder and had passed out from the pain. Ignoring that the reindeer got to work on the sniper of the Straw Hats, he had to make sure Usopp lived after all. Earlier with Sanji, a cigarette fell to the ground as the two dueling men kicked each other in the head. As the kicks landed, the two men shot away from each other and landed in the buildings behind them. As they slowly rose to their feet they glared at each other. It wasn't every day you meet someone with equal power to yourself. Tisk, bastard, Sanji sighed as he looked at the Okama. What kind of trick is this and how can it stand up to my Okama Kenpo? Mr. 2 questioned as he stared at the blonde-haired cook. Move out of my way. If you want to get by you have to beat me, Sanji told the Baroque works agent. Then show all your skills, cause I've trained hard every day. Mr. 2 warned the pirate. There's no chance you can beat my Okama Kenpo. Dozo oka my knuckle. Mr. 2 threw his first forwards at Sanji's head as the cook swayed out of the way. The blonde-haired cook noticed Mr. 2's other arm bending into a strange formation as the man began to mock him. You can't escape from my punches, Mr. 2 mocked. Okama Kenpo, Soul Drop, Swan Party. Damn it, there's no end to this, I'll have to beat him in one strike, Sanji thought as he cursed. Collier, Sanji yelled as he sent a kick at Mr. 2's neck only to have it blocked. Sanji cursed as he continued his attacks. Aapol was blocked by a kick, his coatlet was blocked by a swat of the hand, his cell was stopped by a kick and finally his jigget was stopped by another kick. The pair jumped back and dashed at each other once more, preparing their kicks. Mr. 2 used his Okama Kenpo. Swan Wind Wing open and Sanji used his Muton shot. Their two kicks once again collided and sent the pair of them flying backwards into buildings. Damn this Okama, Sanji cursed as he sat up. Not even my Muton shot could stop him. Not even my Swan Wind Wing could stop him, Mr. 2 stated in surprise. That's it, from now on I'm being serious. Bring it, Sanji replied with a smirk. You still don't understand the powers of the main no am I, do you? The most terrifying thing about it is my ability to memorize. Mr. 2 informed the pirate. I can create any kind of face, and when you laugh that will be my time to strike. First the funniest head, then the funniest eyes, then the funniest nose and finally the funniest mouth. Today's special performance, main combination. 90% of that is your face, Sanji deadpanned as the man fell to his knees. Sanji charged at him and kicked the man in the face. You're wide open, stop playing around. Have you no blood or tears? Mr. 2 questioned. Your show is boring, Sanji scoffed. You dare say my show is boring? My show is not boring, Mr. 2 yelled in frustration. I once met a man who friendship prevented me from hurting. HMPH, go ahead, Sanji sighed. I think I figured out what you're going to do anyway. Gahahahaha, I'd like to see you try to MPH. The Okama was cut off by a kick to the head. Damn you bastard, this is your friend's face, what do you think friends are for? No matter whose face you use it is still you. It's pathetic and I'm not going to fall for it, Sanji stated proudly as he watched the Okama. People are made of heart. Mr. 2 fell to his knees at Sanji's proclamation. He couldn't believe such a man existed. As he questioned his resolve he switched to Nami's face and noticed a strange look in the Mont's eyes. He tested his theory a few more times before he came to a conclusion. He took Nami's form once more and charged the pirate cook. He threw a kick at the Mont's face and smiled when the blonde cook didn't dodge. The kick connected and Sanji fell to the ground. Sanji jumped from the ground as he noticed the man launching his next attack. Watching the attack carefully Sanji smiled and threw a kick that shot the Okama backwards. The Okama flew into the building behind him and cursed as he got to his feet. I figure it out, Sanji stated. You can't use your Okama Kenpo when you're Nami, so all I have to wait for is the second you attack. What are you saying? I can't hear you, Mr. 2 asked as he played dumb. Right on the dot, Sanji replied with a smirk. So, what? I've trained this soft body day and night. No matter if you understand it or not, you'll still be beaten, Mr. 2 shouted. Now I'll show you my Okama Kenpo, main character beauty attack. Sanji watched in confusion as the man attached swans to his feet and informed him that he left one was male and the right one was female. After bragging about his strength, the Okama shot forwards and unleashed his exploding swan's attack. As he kicked out Sanji was forced to dodge. The swan on his feet had straightened out and drilled a hole in the wall behind him. Lucky you evade my attack, because the soft swan neck has metal beaks, Mr. 2 mocked as he smirked at the pirate. When such a powerful attack comes to one point, there will be no wasted damage. My one kick is like a bullet, except this bullet is quite big and it can definitely create a hole in your body. Sanji cursed as he had to bend backwards and watch as the swan extended over his head and grazed his chin. He glared at the man as he tried to counter-attack with his own kick, only to be sent flying backwards due to the extended range that the swan created. Sanji cursed as he sat back up and had to look at the laughing man. I've trained for this, Sanji thought in anger. I thought this is what all that training was for. I can't let that moss-haired idiot be better for me. Sanji closed his eyes as he thought back to the training that Luffy had put them through, and he knew that now was the time to use it. After all, he had a princess to save. As he breathed out, he felt the Okama rush towards him and throw a kick, which the cook blocked without opening his eyes. He acted quickly and CCK of the Baroque Works agent. He used a boss code as he kicked forwards into Mr. 2. He followed that up with lunge and kicked the Okama in the back. Then Tendrin came, kicking the Okama in his collarbone. Flanche followed that, kicking Mr. 2 in the stomach. Quasi came next, as he spun around and kicked Mr. 2, following that was Q, as he spun around again and kicked the Okama in the tailbone. Kuiso followed after that, in which he dealt a hard kick to the thigh. Next was Jared, as Sanji kicked Mr. 2 hard in the shin, and he finished it off with Vo shot, as Sanji leapt into the air and spun around as he dealt his finishing blow to Mr. 2. I lost, Mr. 2 breathed out in pain. You made me stronger, Sanji admitted to the Okama. What will you do now? Change into Nami so I can't kill you. Ha ha ha, how funny, I can't even move so you win, Mr. 2 stated. If you want to kill me, just do it. My life will be ended by the organization anyway, so what are you waiting for? Just finish me off already. That was a good fight, Sanji admitted as he held out his hand, surprising the Okama. The rest doesn't need to be said. This guy can't be wrong, Mr. 2 thought. This is the friendship of fighting. I can't cry now. I'll just take these back now, Sanji told him as he kicked the Okama in the face and took Usopp's sniper goggles. But you said you wouldn't hit me again, Mr. 2 cried in pain. My ribs, Sanji muttered as he felt the pain in his side. I wonder how many more I just broke. So that's Kenbunshoku haki, Sanji thought as he held his ribs. Earlier with Zoro, that idiot, which way did she go? Didn't I tell her to stay her? That girl is only good at running and getting in my way. Zoro muttered to himself as he ran into two ducks. You guys try to find her as well. I think she's on the other side, so I'll just use this shortcut. Help me, Nami yelled a short distance away from the swordsman. I've had enough. Where'd that stupid swordsman go off to? Assassin rule number 1. Mr. 1 said, walking behind the navigator. Always start with the weaklings first. Let us show you, Miss Doublefinger stated from behind her partner, how a professional works. I can't run anymore, Nami thought in fear. I had to fight. Never mind, Nami yelled in fear as she looked at the pair of Baroque Works agents. I can't stand this anymore, Mr. 1 stated impatiently. You're so impatient, Miss Doublefinger replied. Mr. 1 jumped at the fleeing navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates and began to bring his arm down before he noticed a blur appeared between the two. He brought his arm down anyway and clashed with Zoro holding Sandai Kitetsu. The swordsman stopped the assassin's attack much to the relief of Nami. Zoro, Nami yelled in hope as the pillar behind them fell apart. Wah! The stone pillar split vertically apart. Split? No, that's not right, Zoro told her as he looked at Mr. 1. That was apparently the work of a sword. Damn you, Mr. 1 muttered in frustration. Nami stared at Mr. 1 and Zoro in confusion as the green-haired swordsman pulled his blade back and swung it at Mr. 1. She was shocked to see Mr. 1 not even attempt to move his arm and had to let out a gasp of shock as Zoro's blade collided with Mr. 1's arm. The Baroque Works agent arm had turned into what Nami considered to be steel, and as soon as Zoro's blade collided with the arm, a pillar behind the pair got cut to pieces. Your arm is not cut, Zoro stated as he stared at the man, so you don't have a normal body either. I ate the supa no mi, and my entire body became blades, Mr. 1 informed the pair of pirates as he turned his fingers into blades. So you're the one who killed 100 men at Whiskey Peak. I guess I am, Zoro replied with a smirk. And a couple of years ago in the East Blue, after declining an invitation to Baroque Works from Mr. 7, you killed him, or should I say the pirate hunter killed him, Mr. 1 growled out as he stared at the swordsman. Ha, how nostalgic, Zoro laughed, but that's all your fault because you wouldn't agree to my conditions, which was that I join if you let me be the SS. Ha 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 ha, this guy is funny, Miss Doublefinger laughed. And not only did he disagree but he tried to kill me, so I just had to kill him, Zoro complained as he stared at the two agents. Do you want to invite me as well? Everything would just be so much easier if your boss just quits. Nami looked at Zoro in shock. She couldn't believe the man had such confidence in himself. She noticed Mr. 1 charge at Zoro out of the corner. Quicker than she could see, Zoro had drawn his Yubashiri and stopped the advancing agent. He was holding back the man with an ease that Nami couldn't believe. Don't underestimate me, Mr. 1 snarled. You're just a simple pirate hunter. Then what are you guys? Zoro questioned with a dark look. Idle dolls who have no self-consciousness. You are being controlled and work for a dream world, or an empty group with no power. Miss Doublefinger, Mr. One stated as he jumped back from Zoro. I'll finish this guy, is that what you wanted to say? Miss Doublefinger replied, cutting off her partner. Sure, have your way, as for me I'm off to finish off a little girl. Damn it, no Nami, Zoro shouted in frustration as he turned around and noticed she was gone. Zoro turned back to Mr. One and his eyes hardened. The man had already turned his fingers into blades and was ready to fight. Zoro smirked at the man as he rushed forwards and clashed blades. With Nami, modified weapons, Nami thought as she remembered her conversation with Usopp on the Going Merry. She thought back to her getting Usopp to make her a weapon that would help her fight, something that would make her feel less useless in a fight than she already was. She had used Usopp's pride against him and he eventually boasted that he would make her the best weapon he could. She held the 3 pieces of the weapon in her hands as her conviction hardened. She had to beat her opponent to help her friend. I'll beat the hell out of them, if it's only that woman, I'll win, Nami shouted with conviction. Nami was suddenly pierced in the shoulder through the wall that she was leaning against. She let out a scream as she fell forwards and off the spike that pierced her shoulder. As she held her bleeding wound, she turned around and looked at wall that had a single puncture mark in it. That was soon joined more puncture marks as spikes pushed through the thick wall. Nami watched and barely contained fear as the puncture marks formed a door that Miss Doublefinger soon walked through. Ha 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 ha, what a useless girl, Miss Doublefinger mocked as she looked at the cowering navigator. It doesn't matter where you run or hide. Miss Doublefinger, Nami muttered in shock. Do you realize what I am? I ate the toge no mi and became a spike human, Miss Doublefinger informed Nami with a smirk. I can grow spikes from any part of my body. A spike that could easily break through wall. Nami thought in frustration, damn, if I get caught, I'm going to get poked to death. Hee, so you really plan to fight me? Miss Doublefinger laughed as she noticed Nami holding a weapon. Of course, even I could probably beat you, Nami yelled as she put her 3 metal poles together and formed a staff. Check out my new weapon, Kleem attacked. My life is in your hands now, Usopp, Nami thought. Calling clouds, calling rain, calling wind. A staff that makes miracles by manipulating the weather. First Sunny, Nami yelled as she formed her staff into a triangle. Miss Doublefinger watched in interest as Nami called her attack, fine tempo. She nearly dropped to the ground and had to muffle her laughter as Nami pressed a button and 2 doves appeared out of the staff. The navigator threw the staff down and cursed as she fell to the floor. Her determination seemed to reappear as she reformed her staff into a straight line and pointed it at Miss Doublefinger like a rifle. With a shout of cloudy tempo, the end of the staff shot out a bouquet of flowers, much to the frustration of staff to the ground. Damn you, Usopp, Nami cursed to the heavens. Poor girl, Miss Doublefinger thought as she looked at the sorry state of the pirate in front of her. Double stinger, Miss Doublefinger yelled as she charged at the navigator. Nami jumped backwards and ducked as the Baroque Works agent's hands turned into spikes. Her hand spikes went straight over Nami's head and impaled the behind her multiple times. Miss Doublefinger bought her hand back and then threw it forwards at Nami. The navigator only just got out of the way as the spiked hand went through the sleeve of her shirt and ripped off. She can run, Miss Doublefinger thought as she watched the cowering woman. Don't you realize that running away won't help? No hope to win and no one to help you. You should be calm and accept death, it's easier. Or else are you thinking you can beat me with those tricks? Miss Doublefinger had to chuckle as Nami pulled out what seemed to be an instruction manual. She then jumped to her feet and once again changed the way that her staff was set up. This time she held 2 in her hand and the third pointed towards the sky. With a shout of thunder tempo, a boxing glove shot out of the pole that was batted to the side by Miss Doublefinger. The Baroque Works agent charged at Nami and used her stinger finger to cut Nami across the cheek and send her scurrying backwards. If I die here I'm going to curse that long-nosed idiot forever, Nami yelled as she fell to her knees and opened the instruction manual once more. How can I use this if it has no fight capabilities? Wait a minute. I wouldn't worry about that, Nami heard from above her as she noticed Miss Doublefinger connected to bottom of the bridge. You're about to die. Standing on the back of the bridge, Nami yelled out in confusion and surprise, how's that possible? Nami watched in shock as Miss Doublefinger fell from the bridge and curled her body into a ball. She started to use her stinger hedgehog as she covered her whole body in spikes. The ball fell to the ground as Nami dodged it with ease. She began to panic as the ball started to roll after her. Nami was fleeing from the spiked ball when she noticed an open window that she decided to jump through, only to have to turn around to block the spiked ball. She quickly took off her cloak that she had on and wrapped it around the ball, causing it to have to stop. By the time Miss Doublefinger rose to her feet, Nami had already fled. So you can fight, Miss Doublefinger muttered in surprise, so you're not as easy as I thought. Nami was hiding and reading through the instruction manual to try and find a way to use her Kleem attack in a combat situation. Reading through the instruction frustrated Nami and made her more and more angry at the long-nosed sniper of the Straw Hats. It took her until the end of the page before she realized what the idiot had done. He had to front page as instructions for party tricks and put the combat instructions on the back. Alright, where have you run off and hidden, little kitty? Miss Doublefinger asked as she walked through the street. Ha ha ha, I will not run away, no, I will not hide. These 8 years I've been a thief. No matter what danger I was in, I've gone through it by myself. Nami shouted in determination as she ripped her outfit, letting me waste my time with you little bitch who knows nothing. I cannot take it. I feel sorry for you, Miss Doublefinger stated as she looked down on the navigator. What's the matter, looking strong so suddenly? Miss Doublefinger watched in confusion as Nami placed one of the pipes in her mouth and blew into it. The first pipe she blew into created a large heat ball, the second pipe she blew into created a large cold ball, and finally the last pipe created a large thunderball. Miss Doublefinger nearly face-palmed as she watched Nami once again start screaming about a long-nosed idiot. You had enough fun yet? Miss Doublefinger asked sarcastically as she walked towards Nami, sewing Stinger. Nami turned around and noticed that 2-foot-long spikes had grown out of the woman's feet as Miss Doublefinger began to run after her. She held the instruction manual in her hands as she fled from her dangerous adversary. As she thought she was getting away from the woman, she had something cutting through the air and then felt a harsh pain. She collapsed as she looked at her calf and saw a spike had thrusted through it as Miss Doublefinger caught up to her. Sorry, I don't feel like playing with you anymore, Miss Doublefinger told her in a bored tone as she lifted her leg up and created spikes on the bottom of her foot as her foot began to descend. Stinger step. Low pressure air barrier, Nami yelled as she swung her staff around and created a wind current strong enough to blow Miss Doublefinger away. Miss Doublefinger cursed as she pushed herself to her feet and heard Nami speaking about the surprising use for what she assumed was a party item. Miss Doublefinger charged the smirking woman and created long spikes on all of her finger as she thrust them forwards in victory. She had stabbed Nami through the chest and head. You've been tricked, Nami mocked as she appeared at the side. What? Miss Doublefinger yelled in shock. Cold bubbles can change the temperature, and under apparent change of temperature creating a bent in the light way, Nami informed the woman. So this weapon is most fitted for me, after all. A mirage, Miss Doublefinger yelled in confusion. How could you do that in such a small place? I guess I finally learned a use for this metal rod, so come one, Nami stated with confidence oozing from her. Nami started to twirl her staff around as Miss Doublefinger rushed her. The Baroque works agent turned her fingers in spikes as she forced Nami to jump backwards. Nami was pushed into a corner as she reached back and touched the wall that blocked her escape. Miss Doublefinger laughed at the navigator as she charged forwards and turned both her hands and chest into spikes and stabbed forwards, pinning the navigator to the wall. Although you have a nice weapon, it doesn't have much power, so you can only look at it as a playing tool, Miss Doublefinger mocked as she turned her lips into a spike. If it's made for a purpose, to specifically kill people, then it can be called a weapon. Miss Doublefinger pushed her head forwards as Nami allowed the clothes the Baroque works agent had pinned to rip. As soon as the clothes ripped, Nami dropped to the ground and rolled to the side as Miss Doublefinger made contact with the wall and obliterated it. Nami screamed in fear once more as she began to run away from her dangerous enemy. Such a toy, Miss Doublefinger stated as Nami turned around and noticed the woman had one of her poles. This toy can't kill me. Its electricity is weaker than the static electricity I get off a jacket. Don't say such things, Nami yelled as she charged forwards and knocked the pole from the woman's hand. I'll show you how this weapon can be used. I had to fully use these 3 rods and the weather of this country to win, Nami thought as she watched the woman in front of her. There needs to be more moisture in the air. I know what to do. Rain tempo, Nami yelled as she held out 2 of the poles and placed one on her head as they began to shoot out water. Are you making yourself a spring now? Miss Doublefinger questioned in confusion. Sprinkler, Nami yelled as she began to spin around in circles. Now doing water dances, Miss Doublefinger asked as she looked at the pirate. Damn it, it's so different from what I'm thinking, Nami shouted with shark teeth. Have you played enough for your party? Because I can't display weakness, and if you want to play, then let's play together, Miss Doublefinger stated darkly as her hair turned into spikes. What? Nami yelled as the woman started to charge her. Sea urchin stinger, Miss Doublefinger shouted as she charged Nami. Cool ball, Nami yelled out as she blew into the rod. Don't think that I'm a little beehive. Miss Doublefinger YSED the dodging Nami and crashed into a building. A beehive? Nami questioned in confusion as Miss Doublefinger walked out of the building. I'll die if I get hit by that. That was just a play in response to your game, Miss Doublefinger replied with a laugh, so you get something interesting to watch too. Heat ball, Nami yelled as ignored the other woman and blew into her heat rod. Miss Doublefinger watched the navigator's futile effect to inflict damage on her with no interest as she turned her fingers into spikes. She brought her hand up to her shit and thrust them inside her shoulder. While this was happening, Nami continued to blow the rod that was producing the heat balls that she needed. She turned to look at Miss Doublefinger when she heard the rip of clothes behind her. What? Nami screamed in shock as she looked at the strange sight in front of her. Toge doping, Miss Doublefinger muttered as she caused her arms to enlarge. I said don't look elsewhere, didn't I? Nami froze as the woman began to charge her and spikes appeared on her arms. The Baroque works agent used her stinger flail as she threw a punch that Nami dodged. The woman made contact with the pillar behind Nami and shattered it immediately. Nami screamed as chips from the broken pillar hit her legs and embedded themselves inside her as she collapsed. "I just stopped your best talent, I see. Now you can't run away," Miss Doublefinger mocked as she closed in on Nami. "My feet are cut up by that pillar," Nami thought in annoyance and pain. "Oh yeah, how about the bubbles?" Nami looked up and smiled at the small cloud she could see in the sky. She forced herself to her feet as she held her heat and cool pole in each hand. She began to spin them around, creating more bubbles for the small cloud as Miss Doublefinger continued to walk towards her. Nami had to quickly put her pole back together to block the stinger flail that Miss Doublefinger used on her. As the attack hit her staff, she fell to the ground with a small smile. Nami pulled the pole apart and swung the electric pole at the woman. "Thunderbolt tempo!" Nami yelled in triumph as a lightning bolt shot out of the cloud she made and hit Miss Doublefinger. Miss Doublefinger's eyes hardened as she charged at Nami while turning her hands into spikes. She thrust the spikes into Nami, before the woman once more disappeared using her mirage tempo. "I won't forgive you," Miss Doublefinger snarled. "Today's weather is calm, with a high air pressure. It's sunny throughout the day," Nami informed the woman smugly. "But in some places there are mirages and even tornadoes, so be careful of tornado attacks." "Are you still alright?" Miss Doublefinger asked sinisterly as she noticed the blood flowing down left leg. "Today's weather is tornado," Nami shouted in desperation as she held the rod out in front of her. "That wound which has been hurt till now, that left leg, you can't stand much long," Miss Doublefinger yelled as she turned her hair into spikes. "Sea urchin stinger." The woman charged forwards and drove her head into Nami, who had lifted her left leg up to stop the attack. The spikes easily punctured Nami's foot as the navigator let out a scream of pain. Miss Doublefinger let out a gasp of surprise as she was halted in her advances. "I don't feel a damn thing. Do you know that person's pain?" Nami asked through gritted teeth. "Compared to that, 1 or 2 or 3 legs mean nothing. Now watch me, tornado tempo." The pair watched the staff in anticipation, but neither expect what happened next as 2 doves shot out of the pole and ensnared her opponent. Nami let a gasp of failure as she expected the normal party trick after that. But much to her surprise, the 2 doves started spinning around and caused Miss Doublefinger to do the same. The attack finished when it blasted Miss Doublefinger away and through a wall, knocking the woman out. "I won," Nami breathed in relief as she fell to the ground. "That's all I can do." Earlier with Zoro charged at Mr. One with all 3 of his blades drawn. He clashed with Mr. One's leg and arm as the Baroque works agent turned his body into a blade once again to stop the attack. Zoro grunted in displeasure as the giant man looked down on him with the same bored look he wore during the whole fight. Mr. One bought his arm back and slashed out at the green-haired swordsman who easily ducked the blow. "Santoryu! Ushibari!" Zoro yelled as he dashed at the man. "Spider!" Mr. One muttered as he crossed his arms over his chest. Zoro held 2 of his sword like they were bullhorns as he charged the Baroque works agent. As he closed in on the man, he noticed the glint that showed he had turned his body into a blade. When he hit Mr. One, he dealt multiple blows and dashed past him with a grunt of displeasure as he turned around and looked at the man who seemed unaffected from the attack. "So, your body is as hard as a blade," Zoro stated with a frown as he sheathed his swords. "So if I can't cut metal, I can't cut you." "That's right," Mr. One replied with the same bored expression. "Hit and slash attacks do nothing to me." "So, if I can't cut metal, I can't beat you," Zoro said as he crossed his arms. So what are you going to do now?" Mr. One asked as he watched Zoro throw off his coat. "Ah, I pity you. I'm in a dangerous situation and danger can force a swordsman to become better," Zoro told thee as a dark look appeared on his face and he drew his blades, "because when I've beaten you, I'll be a man who can cut through steel. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but since I gained these super powers, not one swordsman has been able to hurt one hair of mine," Mr. One detailed as slammed his fists into each other. "You cannot beat me, swordsman." "Oh, I understand, but I was just giving you some advice to remember things," Zoro stated with a bloodthirst smirk. "I don't know what kind of swordsman you fought before me, but a swordsman not injuring you will change very soon, because you've never fought anyone like me." "I see you only have a big mouth," Mr. One replied as he charged at Zoro. "Thanks for saying that," Zoro responded as he drew Yubashiri and Sandai Kitetsu, Ubaldi. Zoro quickly held his blade in front of him to block the leg that Mr. One was attempting to kick him with. Zoro smirked at the men as they began their test of power without either flinching away from the other. "I wonder how long you can last," Mr. One asked with a small frown on his face. "How about you?" Zoro shot back with a smirk. Mr. One dropped to the ground and began to spin around as Zoro looked at him in surprise with a frown on his face. The man turned his fingers into blades and muttered spar claw as he threw a punch at Zoro, who blocked the attack with Yubashiri. Mr. One didn't stop there as he threw another punch with other hand only to be blocked by Sandai Kitetsu. Zoro was forced to stop the next attack with his Yubashiri again as Mr. One tried to throw quick rapid punches. which caused Zoro to have to slowly back up as he blocked each blow. Zoro was forced to bend backwards as Mr. One sent a kick at him. Santoryu. Onigiri, Zoro muttered as he jumped backwards and landed in a crouch. Zoro placed his Wado Ig in his mouth and placed his other two blades behind it. He charged at a surprised Mr. One and slashed him across the chest. As Zoro finished his attack, he quickly turned around and jumped at Mr. One using his Santoryu, Toragari. Zoro grunted as his swords made contact with Mr. One's chest. He used his blades to force Mr. One into the ground with a large crash as he landed on his feet. Zoro watched as the Baroque Works agent pushed himself up from the ground without a single wound on him. "What did I tell you earlier?" Mr. One mocked with his bored expression. "Ha, there's not even a scratch on him," Zoro stated in surprise and disappointment. "I've only met one person who can take my attacks and stay standing." "That's two now," Mr. One mocked as he looked down on the swordsman. As soon as the words left Mr. One's mouth, the man charged. He launched another kick as he turned his leg into a orc to dodge. Mr. One didn't wait for his feet to touch the ground as he spun around in the air while turned his other leg into a blade. Zoro brought up his Sandai Kitetsu to block the man's kick as he was forced to his knees. "This guy can make a blade anywhere on his body. He can have a body full of blades," Zoro thought in frustration as he blocked another kick. Zoro fell to the ground from the pressure of the kick and started to roll away quickly as Mr. One tried to finish the battle with a kick. As the Straw Hat Swordsman rolled back, he felt himself hit the wall behind him. He quickly forced himself to his feet and held the two blades in his hand in an X shape. He saw the advancing Mr. One launch his attack while muttering Sparkling Daisy. As the attack hit his blades, the building behind Zoro got cut into 5 pieces as it fell apart. "This guy," Zoro thought in frustration. "Fly away," Mr. One stated with his usual bored expression as Zoro was sent flying backwards into the cut-up building. Zoro was lying under rubble as he had cuts all over his chest and was bleeding profusely. The green-haired swordsman thought back to a lesson that his sensei had taught him, and how true swordsmen only cut what he meant to cut. Hurry up and slash me," Mr. One ordered in a bored tone. "I'm just standing here, and I haven't seen you hurt me yet. Underestimate me, now I will show you the look of me slashing through metal," Zoro yelled as he lifted the building that was on top of him. "When I can slash through metal, that'll mean your death." "Is that so?" Mr. One replied as he stared at Zoro. "Grah," Zoro screamed as he threw the building at the Baroque Works agent. "No matter what come towards me, I will simply destroy it," Mr. One told him as he lifted his arms up to his face. "It all starts with the blade that cannot cut through anything," Zoro thought as he remembered his sensei's words. "Stupid tricks," Mr. One muttered as the building closed in on him. "I still don't understand the words from sensei. A word that cannot cut, but can cut through metal," Zoro mused in his thoughts. "That doesn't matter. The harder it is, the stronger the swordsman I'll become in the end." "Atomic spar," Mr. One said simply as he threw his hands forwards at the building and cut it into square-shaped pieces. "I'll be the first to cut you in half," Zoro yelled as he jumped through the cut-up building. Zoro landed in front of Mr. One and started to swing his blades at the man, clashing steel with steel. He started to push the man back as he spun around and swung his blade at the man's neck. The man simply jumped backwards as the blade hit his neck. He charged forwards once again as he threw a kick at Zoro. Zoro blocked the kick with the two blades in his hand as he used the sword in his mouth to attack Mr. One. The sword collided with Mr. One's neck once again and sent the man skidding backwards. As the man fell to a crouch, Zoro appeared in front of him, with one of the blades in his hand above the man's neck and the other below. With a whisper of Santoryu, "Gazami Dori," Zoro brought the swords together, hitting the man in the neck once again and sending the man skidding backwards. "Huff, huff, damn, you're a little tough," Zoro stated as he caught his breath. "Same to you," Mr. One replied as he glared at the swordsman. "I'm not a normal swordsman. I have a ton of techniques that could cut you into two, spiral hollow." "You can't beat a swordsman," Zoro yelled out as he charged the man that created circular blades that spun around his forearms. "You're nothing but a miner." "I'm an assassin," Mr. One told him as they clashed blades. Zoro was surprised as the blades that Mr. One created were causing sparks from the clash. He couldn't believe how fast those blades were spin. He attempted to hold back to Assassin as he came up with a plan to stop him, but that was all for nothing. His blades were thrown off the circular blades and the swordsman was left open for attack. "I'm not just some dumb miner. I'll cut you through as proof," Mr. One roared as he threw his hand forwards. "Damn," Zoro yelled as Mr. One's arm closed in on him. The pirate had no choice but to take the attack that Mr. One was currently using. The circular blades clashed with the moss-haired swordsman's chest and instantly started to rip it apart as blood flew all over the place. Zoro fell to his knees as the blades tore into him, only for Mr. One to rear his hand back and throw a punch that hit Zoro in the stomach. Zoro's swords flew into the air as the blades tore into his stomach, splattering blood all over the place. "The wrong decision will result in death," Mr. One yelled as he turned his fingers into blades and hit Zoro once more, cutting his chest again and sending him flying into a pillar with blood pouring out of his wounds. Mr. One walked towards the downed swordsman on the Straw Hat Pirates who was laying on his stomach. As he neared the bleeding man he brought his hand to his face and with bloodthirsty look in his eyes he tasted Zoro's blood that coated his hands. You're still alive, Mr. One muttered in shock. I cannot show an enemy weakness, Zoro thought in anger as he forced himself to lean against the pillar behind him. You have no weapons, what will you do now? Mr. One questioned as he turned his hands into blades once again. Spar break. Mr. One threw his hands out at the bleeding and barely conscious Zoro as the swordsman leaned against the pillar. Blood shot out of the green-haired man's chest and the pillar behind him was cut to pieces and began to collapse on the man. As the rocks began to fall onto the downed swordsman, Mr. One began to walk away from his opponent. Just die now, Mr. One ordered as he walked away. Today I've had little luck with rocks, Zoro thought as the broken bridge began to collapse. The pieces fell down and started to land on the swordsman. The blood flowed out of his body faster as the rubble seemed to fall onto him. Mr. One began to walk away as the falling rubble ceased and he believed his opponent to be dead. Feeling a strange chill, Mr. One turned around and noticed the swordsman somehow standing. The green-haired man looked to be covered in blood as it continued to flow out of his wounds. Are they all right? Zoro thought. Impossible, even after all that he's still standing, Mr. One stated in shock. Evade all of them. No, it's because I knew they wouldn't land on me, Zoro thought as he stood still. My sword, it's under that rock, I know it. What are you doing? Mr. One demanded as he watched Zoro lift up a piece of rubble and pull out one of his blades. I've had this feeling before too. Everything is quiet, except my heartbeat which is so loud. I'm at death's door, Zoro thought as he held his blade. The falling rocks had a sense of life to them. Not life, I would call it breathing. The breath of those rocks, even the trees are breathing, even the land. Is this the meaning? Not being able to cut through, is to understand the meaning of breathing. Is this the power to cut through metal? What's going on? Mr. One yelled at Zoro. After receiving so many attacks and bleeding that much, how could you still be alive? I can hear it. His metal is breathing to me, Zoro thought as he finally looked up. Grr, the next move is going to finish you off for good, Mr. One growled. Transfer my thoughts through my sword, Zoro said as he slashed at the leaves on a tree without cutting it, then followed that up by easily cutting through a rock next to him. Now to see if I have truly gained the skill to cut through metal, Zoro thought as he watched Mr. One. Using one sword to only block my move, Mr. One taunted. Enough, I won't wait for death, Zoro stated with a glare. So, you're giving up, Mr. One stated. Good, it or you ei. Shishi sun, Zoro whispered as he held his blade in front of him. Atomic spurt, Mr. One shouted as he turned his hands and feet into blades. Zoro rushed at the man and met him head on. Zoro listened to the breath of Mr. One as he unsheathed his blade and cut through Mr. One. As he finished his attack he sheathed his blade and blood shot out. Man fell to the ground. I give you my thanks, Zoro stated as he unsheathed his blade and held it in front of him. I didn't even have to use it, Zoro thought as a black sheen covered his blade. Learning how to cut metal and activating my Busashoku haki in the same battle. Take that, love cook. Haha, next time are you going to cut through diamonds? Mr. One asked in pain as blood flowed freely from his chest. I don't know yet, Zoro replied. I accept my defeat, was all the man could say before he passed out from the pain. Damn, I'm bleeding too much. Although the wounds aren't deep the pain hurts too much, Zoro muttered as he fell to the ground. I wonder how the others are doing. Nami should have escaped safely. Hopefully no one died. I really want to know, Zoro thought as he thought of the rest of the Straw Hats. He left me in charge. I really hope they're okay. With Sanji, Chopper and Usopp. Hey Usopp, Sanji yelled at the long-nosed man riding eyelashes and covered in bandages. Why are you crying like that? Who's crying? One who says one is crying. Is the one crying? Usopp shouted back with tear freely flowing. That doesn't make sense, Sanji muttered to the man. It's because that damn mole, Usopp cried. She said that Luffy is dead. That, Chopper muttered in shock and fear. Is that true? Are you guys saying that you believe that's true? Sanji questioned. Who's going to believe that, you bastard chef? Usopp yelled. I don't believe it either, Chopper shouted in hope. Anyways, we have to get to the palace, ASAP, and wipe your nose, Sanji told the pair. We'll talk about everything else after the war. With Nami, phew, finally got it. So he meant you could only use it once because of this, Nami used as she looked at her claim attacked. The waves of uprising will reach her soon. Although the situation has changed, I need to get to the palace and see. Earlier with Vivi. Load all the gunpowder, Chaka ordered. Are you sure you want to do this? A Solider yelled back. How will the history of Alubarna turn out after this? Wait a moment and it will be ready, Chaka yelled as he stood next to Vivi. How should I report this? It's alright. I understand you have no other way to stop the opposing force. Without Kakam, it's all because of you we still have a chance to stop them, Vivi said to comfort him. I'm sorry for leaving this so suddenly, but it's not over yet. Even if we stop this uprising, as long as that man is still alive, there can be no peace for this country. I am so worried about them. Princess Vivi, in these 2 years of not seeing you, you have gained such an independent personality, Chaka told the princess. After this war you'll give those pirates a big feast, right? Chaka, a soldier shouted as fell to the ground bleeding profusely. General Chaka. What is wrong? The man yelled at the soldier. Inside the palace, the soldier yelled for he was cut off. Some troubles have stirred up. Geez, you caused quite a mess for me. Crocodile shouted from the rooftop he was sitting on. Isn't this going to be my house soon? This palace is a good place. A good place to watch you lose everything. Crocodile, Vivi screamed in anger and shock. Crocodiles appearing in a lubarna, a soldier shouted in shock. So it was true that he wanted to take over this country. Break down the gate, Princess Vivi is in trouble, multiple soldiers shouted. Diacise's Fleur, Miss All Sunday's voice ran through the area as hand appeared from the door and pushed the soldiers down the stairs. Hands from the door, a soldier shouted in shock. What the heck is going on? Another soldier yelled. Ha ha ha, it really is so noisy outside, Miss All Sunday stated from near Vivi and her revealed her father pinned to the wall and bleeding. Papa, Vivi screamed in horror. Your Majesty, Chaka yelled as he stared at his cane. Vivi, Cobra muttered, I'm sorry, you created a chance to save this country with your life, but now there seems to be no more hope. Don't go near the king, Crocodile, Chaka yelled in anger as he stared at the Shichibukai. Ha ha ha, the king is right, but Miss Wednesday, the only reason you got so far is because of that band of pirates, Crocodile mockingly stated. Where is Luffy and why are you here? Vivi screamed at the man. What if I tell you he's already in hell? Crocodile replied with a sinister smirk. You liar, Luffy could not be killed by you, Vivi yelled at the man. HMPH, I don't care if you believe it or not, nevertheless, I said I never intended to help you too, Crocodile told them. Once this kingdom is crushed the royal family will disintegrate, that's only logical, isn't that right king? But before you give up your throne I want to ask you something. This is also the biggest reason I have done what I have. Where is Pluton? How could you? Cobra replied in shock as the onlookers mirrored his expression. How do you know that name? The Pluton, I've heard that using it once would be enough to make a whole island disappear, and since it's got the name of a god, it's the most evil ancient weapon. Crocodile told the shocked king. That thing should sleep somewhere within this country. My original purpose was to own it. As long as I have it I can build the most powerful military country right here. A weapon? Vivi asked in confusion and shock. That kind of thing, in this country. Is it something that is passed down along with the crown? Chaka asked. When I become king of this country making those pirates my slaves will be so easy. Crocodile stated with laughter. As long as I gain that power, utopia will become reality. The world government will not allow that to happen, Cobra roared at the man. Therefore, I'll need a bigger military force, Crocodile told the king. I don't know where you heard that name, I don't know where it is, and I don't even know if it exists, Cobra admitted. That's right, of course I know the value of it is dubious, but the force gathered in front of this palace, at 4 o'clock, 30 minutes from now, a powerful cannon will be aimed right at this place, Crocodile informed everyone. It has been special made, and won't allow anything to grow with 5 kilometers from here, so from here, the scenery might change a little you see. 30 minutes from now, 5 kilometers, Vivi yelled in anger. Do you have any idea what that will do? Isn't it great, especially since you were trying to stop the rebel force anyway. According to my calculations, 20 minutes from now the force will arise and the battle will start, Crocodile told them all while laughing, and those guys might break the palace, so why not finish those guys first? How could you do these kinds of things? Vivi shouted as she glared at the man. What wrong have they done to you? Boring, Crocodile muttered in dismissal. Princess Vivi, Chaka yelled in surprise. All right, Mr. Cobra, back to the problem from before, Crocodile stated as he turned to look at the man. Where's the thing that has the true history down? The true history? Vivi questioned in surprise. Why do you ask that? If I take you there, Cobra muttered out in pain. All right, I'll take you there. Ha ha ha, indeed, it's King Cobra, Crocodile stated while laughing, he knows his job. Princess Vivi, Chaka muttered as he placed his hand on his weapon. I cannot bear it any longer. Please wait, General Chaka, everyone heard as a group of men ran into the courtyard. Who is it? Crocodile questioned in confusion. You guys, a startled Chaka stated. Sumigari guards, Vivi yelled in surprise. Please stay away, Cobra pleaded, don't make him angry. Your Majesty, protecting you all our lives is our job. One of the 4 men stated, how could you tell us to stop? Your Majesty, one of the men said. We must protect you, another of the men stated. Release the king at once, all the men said together. To fight against one off the Shichibukai, one of the men muttered. We shall show no fear, the final man breathed out. You guys have good spurt so I'm going to let LD them, so get lost. How could we? The men yelled, we have a reason that we can only go forwards. A reason? Crocodile questioned. So, you're the person behind everything? one of the men stated as his arms bulked up. Your arms, Chaka said in shock, could you guys have? Should I? Miss All Sunday questioned. Nah, they're just a bunch of weaklings, Crocodile replied as the men charged him. Crocodile heard the princess and her guard talking to each other as the men raised their weapons for their attack. He heard them talk about these 4 men drinking the hero's water to gain a boost in their abilities as the 4 pleaded for forgiveness. The 4 brought their weapons down onto Crocodile and cut into him, only for the man to turn to sand and disappear from their view. Crocodile appeared onto the palace as he watched the men lose their lives from the hero's water. Ha ha ha, stupidity is the word made for you guys, Crocodile yelled out mockingly. You damn bastard, Chakra roared as he shifted into his half-jackal form and shot off towards Crocodile. Chakra, stop, please don't die as well, Cobra yelled at the man. Just like an animal, Crocodile muttered in displeasure. Inu fruit. Transformation, wild wolf, Chaka yelled as he charged the man and cut through him with his sword, Narakiba. So, you would like to die with the others too? Crocodile muttered darkly as his face and body reformed. Chaka, Vivi screamed in horror as she watched Crocodile use his hook to cut down Chaka easily. Being weak is a sin, Crocodile muttered as he looked down on the bleeding man. Vivi, the princess heard as another man entered the courtyard. Koza, Vivi yelled at her childhood friend in shock. It's you? Cobra stated in surprise, you used the shortcut to come here. It's me all right, you really have a problem with your eyes, Koza stated darkly as he looked around. I came here to persuade the royal army, but something's wrong here. Why would the king nearly get killed by the hero of this country? Kuhahaha, you're so funny, in such a problematic time for both forces. I didn't expect you to arrive here, Crocodile admitted while he laughed at the man. It's like this war is being fought by lizards with their heads cut off. You seem troubled, Miss All Sunday stated as she looked at the rebel. It's quite simply, just imagine the worst case situation possible and then you'll understand. Listen Koza, Vivi started before the man cut her off. Vivi, the person who took the water away from this country, who the hell is it? Koza asked as he looked at Crocodile. It was all, Vivi prepared to tell him before she was once more cut off. Me, Koza, everything you thought the king did was traps set up by my company. You have all danced a very amusing dance for me these past 2 years. Even thought the royal family and the army were trying their hardest to reveal our shadows, Crocodile admitted with a smirk. I think you would have died much easier if you didn't know about this, Kuhahaha. Don't listen to him Koza, the king yelled. King, Koza whispered in shock. The only thing you can do now is go back and save as many lives as you can, the king told him. Within 30 minutes the palace square will be blown up, Chaka yelled with pain lining his voice. What did you say? Koza asked in shock. So, you're still alive, Crocodile muttered in surprise. Hurry, Chaka yelled as Koza ran towards his army. Don't do it, Vivi yelled as she jumped on him and forced him to the ground. Vivi, the king muttered in shock. Hey, Vivi, get off, what do you think you're doing? Koza yelled at the princess. Soon the square will turn into a battlefield, if it's blown up. We will not allow it to turn into a battlefield. You're still in shock. Vivi yelled at the man. If the royal army finds out that the square will be blown up there will be chaos. Then no one would be able to stop this war. No one will be saved, isn't that right? Good judgment, Crocodile muttered as he watched the pair from above. The only thing that you can do has been obvious from the beginning. You have to stop this falsified rebellion. Vivi shouted, and you're the only one who can do that. So, you think that I will sit here quietly and let you do as you please? Crocodile stated darkly as he appeared behind the pair with his hook ready to strike. Vivi, Cobra yelled in fear as Chaka appeared between Crocodile and the pair. Chaka, Vivi yelled in surprise as he blocked the blow, but his bleeding intensified. I am a guardian spirit of Alabasta, the jackal. I destroy the enemies of the royal family, Chaka roared in anger. As long as I can breathe, I will fight. Now that's what I call an idiot, Crocodile said mockingly. Koza, Vivi-sama, do as you were, Chaka yelled at the pair. I believe I can hold him off for only a few minutes more. Okay, Vivi replied. Chaka, Koza replied in worry as he thought back on lessons the man gave him. Put up the white flag, Vivi yelled from the courtyard. Surrender now soldiers. Vivi-sama, why are you? A soldier yelled in confusion. Surrender. If we do that, wouldn't the future of the company? Another soldier yelled. Hey, look at that. A soldier yelled. It's Koza, what could the head of the rebels be doing here? Another soldier shouted. Everyone listen, we don't want victory anymore, we don't want to fight anymore, we want to stop this battle. I will now inform the rebels that this war is meaningless. Koza yelled as he walked down the stairs. There is no more reason to fight. The war will only cause unneeded bloodshed. Hurry and wave the white flag, please. The king's head is right in front of me, a rebel yelled as he ran forwards. I see the clock tower, another rebel yelled. The palace square is fight there, get ready to battle, a rebel yelled, get ready to fire. Wait, the rebels heard as they stopped in shock. The white flag, the royal force has waved the white flag. Multiple rebels yelled in shock as they saw who was waving the flag, Koza. This war is over. Everyone throw away your weapons and your anger. No one has any reason to fight anymore. Really, Koza? A rebel asked with tears freely flowing. Yes, this war is over, Koza told them before a shot rang out and pierced through Koza's chest. Damn you soldiers to hell, the rebels yelled as they renewed their attack. Koza, Vivi yelled in horror. Stop fighting rebels, Koza fought as he fell to the ground. Why did you attack Koza? A soldier yelled as he grabbed the man responsibly who could only laugh. Fellow rebels, Koza said quietly as a sandstorm began and gunshot were heard once more from both sides, hear my words. Stop fighting, Vivi yelled from the courtyard as she watched the gunshot happen. Stop this war, the rebellion, Koza whispered as sand obstructed their view. Please stop, Vivi pleaded. Your voice won't reach them, Miss All Sunday told the princess. Such a lively fight, isn't it, little girl? This is the end, Cobra thought as he hung his head. Hurry up and run, Cobra yelled at his daughter, run away from that man. No, the princess roared as she looked at Crocodile. This sandstorm is your doing, so as long as I can stop the cannon then I can reduce the causalities. You can stop the uprising this way, you can stop the uprising that way, Crocodile said as he looked at her. Wake up, little girl. Your dream isn't realistic, and this is reality. Dreams are something that only powerful people can bring into reality. Even if it isn't realistic, I don't care, I won't give up, Vivi shouted as Crocodile wrapped his hand around her throat and lifted her into the air. You damn people won't understand, I am the princess of this country. Such an uncute girl, Crocodile muttered. For this country, Vivi yelled before she went quiet as Crocodile tightened his grip. Vivi, Cobra muttered in shock and fear. 15 minutes until the cannon fires, and the reinforcements for the rebellion will be arriving soon. Crocodile told her with a Vivi off the palace and over nothing but air. Your fate is sealed, along with everyone in the blast area. If you told the loyalists about the blast there would have been chaos, but you could have saved thousands. Stop, Cobra yelled in fright as he knew if the man dropped his daughter it would mean death. Stop it, Crocodile. You thought you could save everyone, how naive, so in the end, you could leave everyone to their deaths. Crocodile told her mockingly. From now on, no one will know any better, you worked for us for 2 years. I thank you for that, so in the end you don't have a choice at all, whether saving the country or rebelling. Whichever boring ideals, either one would result in more deaths. Let me tell you, you cannot save this country. Cobra screamed out as he watched Crocodile's hand that was holding Vivi turn to sand. His heart nearly stopped as he heard the screams of his daughter as she was dropped to certain death. He couldn't help but glare at the laughing Crocodile as the Shichibukai looked to the sky and cursed. Cobra looked up and a small smile appeared on his face as he looked at the figure that could only be Pell with someone on his back. Crocodile, Luffy yelled in fury as he passed the man. Luffy, Vivi shouted in hope. Straw Hat, Crocodile spat in disgust. Phew, Luffy muttered as they closed in on Luffy and he wrapped his arms around her. I caught up. Luffy, Pell, the palace is going to be bombed. There isn't any time left, Vivi told them. Everyone is going to die, and no one can hear my voice. If this continues, this country will. Don't worry, Luffy told the woman as his arms tightened around her. We all heard your voice. With Zoro and Nami. I'm the more injured one, Zoro complained as he carried Nami on his back. Stop blabbering, aren't you a man? Nami yelled at him. I can barely even stand due to this damned blood loss. With Luffy, be careful, Pell warned the Straw Hat wearing boy. Don't worry, Luffy told Pell. I ate enough meat, so I'll definitely beat him this time. Ah, Luffy is still alive, Chopper yelled as he arrived on the scene. Tony, Vivi yelled in surprise. What is Luffy? Usopp shouted in glee. And Vivi's here as well, Chopper said in happiness. See, I knew it, Usopp yelled with tears flowing. Really? Chopper asked, falling for the lie. Yeah right, is that the face of someone who knew it? Sanji stated with a sweat drop. Usopp and Sanji, Vivi muttered as she stared at the pair. Hey Vivi, why are you all banged up like that? Nami asked as she arrived and saw Usopp and whacked him with her staff. You idiot. Nami, Mr. Bushido, Vivi stated as she released a sigh of relief. You're all alive. Who asked you to make a party toy? Nami shouted at Usopp. You can stand just fine, Zoro yelled as his shirt got redder. Sanji swooned. But it worked, Usopp muttered as he stared at the woman. I'll kill you later, Nami warned him. Ah Sanji please bury me in the wilderness, Usopp pleaded as he fell completely on the ground. Ah, these wounds are serious, Chopper shouted in worry. Hey, how the heck did Nami get hurt? Sanji yelled at the wounded swordsman. Isn't she alright? Zoro growled. Vivi, just now, what was that sandstorm? Nami asked the princess. Sorry I lost to him once, Luffy told them in disappointment and anger at himself, so this time I can't lose. The hurry up with it, Zoro told him. If you can't beat him, no one can, Usopp yelled as the rest of his crew nodded. I'll finish this now then, Luffy said as he took to the air with Geppo. Alright? Usopp yelled in his full body bandage as the rest of the crew screamed with him. I still have my friends. Vivi thought with a smile as Pell smiled at them all. Crocodile. Luffy yelled in anger as he landed on the palace courtyard.